What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our Big Ten football channel.
Michigan eyeing another top 10 recruiting class under Jim Harbaugh. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down National Signing Day, getting to as many teams as we possibly can. And this one, of course, a must. We talk maize and blue with the maize and brew. We've got Von Lozon in to talk Michigan football and National Signing Day in particular. Von, how you doing today?
Doing well. It's always a good day. How are you?
I am doing just fine. I appreciate you stopping by. And of course, this is a day in which college football fans, the knowledgeable ones, know it's like the NFL draft. It is, in some aspects, the most important day of the year. No results on the field, but this is the talent that comes into the program that is the lifeblood of any program for years to come. As we look at what Michigan's trying to put into play, an 11th ranked national recruiting class, according to 247's composite, number 2 to Ohio State in the Big Ten right now. Who are some of those guys that might be on the fence that you're trying to get those late returns on, and hopefully they're going to lean in your direction?
Well, number one, first priority is a 4-star cornerback from California. His name is Darian Green-Warren. He's going to be committing on January 3rd at the All-American game. It's pretty much down to Michigan and USC at this point. With the way that Clay Helton's been recruiting at USC, a lot of us folks here are anticipating him to put on the Michigan hat on national television and choose the maize and blue. That would be Michigan's second cornerback in this class, the first one being in-state kid Andre Selden. So they're going to need some more of these defensive back recruits, specifically at cornerback. He's a really big-time player and at a position of need for sure. So that would be a big pickup for Michigan. The second guy being James Pogerelk. He is a 3-star offensive tackle, 6'7", a real big, long, lengthy offensive lineman, probably projects to the right tackle spot. It seems to be down to Michigan, Virginia, and a few of those other academic powerhouses like Stanford at this point. Ed Warner went in on an in-home visit with him recently. So those two being really the only last guys uncommitted, kind of different this season. In this recruiting cycle, typically you'll have a few more than just two guys, but those are the two main guys Michigan's going after right now.
Yeah, this early signing period has become the signing period when 75, 80, 85% of the top recruits come into play and make their decision and get it all wrapped up. So it's no longer the first Wednesday in February, although it appears as though you might have a couple guys out there. But Michigan with a top 10 class that should be substantiated here in the next 24 hours. Got Von Lozon on the line from Maize and Brew, SB Nation's platform for Michigan athletics. So as you look down the list of whether they have officially signed today or the hard commits that just the paperwork needs to be transferred today, some of the standouts, and then also some of the guys that maybe you just have kind of fell in love with, even though they're a bit under the radar.
Yeah, I'd say the two standouts of this class are both on offense. Blake Corum at running back, 4-star guy out of Maryland, and then 4-star wide receiver A.J. Henning. He's from Illinois. Both going to be vital pieces moving forward for Josh Gaddis's speed and space offensive scheme at U of M. They're looking to get these shiftier, smaller, speedy guys in space so they can create big, explosive offensive plays, and these guys kind of fit that bill. Blake Corum is a much smaller running back than Michigan has recruited in the past. Zach Charbonnet, of course, being a 6'1" guy. Blake Corum's around 5'8", 5'9", kind of more like that Giles Jackson kind of athlete that they recruited last year. A.J. Henning, same deal. He's like 5'10", 5'11", somewhere in that range. And U of M's only has one committed wide receiver who's right at 6 feet tall, and that's Roman Wilson. Again, a really, really fast kid out of Hawaii. So I'd say the strength of the class definitely at the speedier offensive playmakers that they're looking to get, and that kind of fits the bill with one of my under-the-radar guys that I really like. His name's Iman Dennis. He is a 3-star guy. He was recruited as an athlete. He played defensive back in high school. He kind of just played all over the place wherever they needed him. But he's going to be an offensive weapon for Josh Gaddis as well. He can line up in the backfield. He can split out wide. He can play in the slot. He's even done kick return duties as well, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the mix there next season. So a lot to be excited about on the offensive side for sure.
Dennis, right now listed in the athlete category. Those guys typically turn out to be either DBs or wide receivers. 5'10", 24th rated player at his position out of an underrated recruiting state, not a hotbed or by any stretch, but Massachusetts actually plays a little bit better football than people generally know. Got Von Lozon on the line from Mason Brew talking Michigan football. You know, it's another successful season on so many fronts, but the obvious, we won't even speak to it, is the championship in the Big Ten and is Ohio State. It hasn't hurt Jim Harbaugh on the recruiting trail. He still has cachet. He still has pull, and the Michigan brand, of course. And you mentioned one particular student athlete that obviously taking his studies very seriously, and that's where Michigan, of course, has a huge advantage over most powerhouses in football.
Yeah, very much so. They definitely do have the advantage there. And you can see it early on in these cycles, too, when they start recruiting these kids, that a lot of these guys that they're going after are more of course, they're high-level football players, but they're also good students as well. And you can see that from Miles Hinton, one of the guys that they were going after very early on, but he committed to Stanford in January. He's the brother of Chris Hinton, who's a defensive tackle at Michigan right now, just wrapping up his true freshman season. But he was a big-time offensive tackle recruit. At one time, he was a 5-star kid, is now a 4-star kid, but ended up signing with Stanford today. And that's just kind of the student athlete that Michigan under Jim Harbaugh is one after. They're going more so for the kids that want to set up their future after football as well. So very important to Jim Harbaugh, and he said that over and over during his press conferences for recruiting classes last year, several years ago. He says it all the time that they want student athletes, first and foremost, the student. In student athletes. So I think that's kind of what's going to continue to go here for Michigan. They'll get their 5 stars every now and then, like Daxton Hill, like Chris Hinton. This cycle, they don't have any. And that's just kind of how it all plays out sometimes when you're trying to recruit a certain type of kid. And I think we're going to see that moving forward as well.
Yeah, it's a balancing act, but Michigan does it better than anyone in the country at that level academically. Keep in mind, I heard a stat the other day. I've not confirmed it, but that Michigan has one less 4- and 5-star on its roster than Clemson does. Von Lozon joining us from Mason Brew talking Michigan football. Von, I know it's a day in which you've got a whole lot going on to track. Michigan's class seems to be pretty well cemented, but still a few odds and ends there, and obviously a lot of writing to do there at Mason Brew. So we appreciate you stopping by.
Hey, thanks for having me on again.